everybody, and welcome to another brand new edition of T Watches a Scary Movie. My name is T, and of course we are talking scary movies. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. Remember, new episodes are guaranteed to go up every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but I always put out extra reviews throughout the week, so the best way to stay on top of all the horror content that I'm releasing to my channel is to get subscribed to my Linktree. And you do that by going to linktr.ee/tscarymovie. If you get to my Linktree, that's going to give you access to things like my YouTube page for the video versions of the show, to your favorite podcasting platforms like Spotify and Podbean for the audio-only versions of the show, to my Letterboxd page for my written reviews as well as my movie rankings throughout the year, and to my TikTok page for my short horror content where you can find me at opening night premieres, movie news, and all other stuff that I'm trying to announce through my horror content. So make sure to get subscribed. There's also a link there to my Fangoria page so you can enjoy my discount on everything in the Fangoria shop. But get subscribed, y'all, so you can stay on top of everything that is coming out. And that means if you're listening on one of those podcasting platforms or watching on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe there as well. Helps me out, gets me to bring you more content throughout the week. So, speaking of content, what are we talking about here tonight? Well, I had recently put up a video talking about some of the movies that have been turning 20 this year. For those of y'all that don't remember the great 2000s, back in the 2000s, I'm talking 2000, 2010, horror just ran rampant. We had so many different types of horror coming out, whether it was something original, whether it was a really good remake, whether it was a really bad remake, vampires, zombies, witches, serial killers, whatever it is, you had everything that you could need back in the 2000s. But part of that was we also got a lot of fluff. You've heard the term popcorn movie before. Typically we get a lot of those in the summer to where you don't really have to put a lot of thought into it. You spend your $10, get some popcorn, you sit down and watch it, and you're going to be entertained. You're not looking for something that deep. And horror in the 2000s had a lot of that as well, to where we didn't have these really, really great characters. We didn't have to have these incredibly deep stories. Basically, you just put a bunch of teenagers on screen getting chased around by a monster or a killer of some kind, throwing a little bit of blood, a little cursing, and that's all you need. You get a bona fide hit on your hands. And every now and then, we still get a little bit of that because that is always refreshing to kind of change it up from what we normally get. But sometimes it just doesn't work when we try for it as well, too. And one of those times that we're going to talk about is the movie that I am reviewing for you tonight, Tarot. I got a chance to go see this one on opening night, and so we might as well just go ahead and jump right into things. Now, if you have not seen the trailer for Tarot yet, it tells the story of a group of young friends who decide to rent a mansion in the Catskills for one of their birthdays, get a chance to celebrate together before they all head back to college and their normal everyday lives. Now, while enjoying a night here at this rented Airbnb mansion, they happen to stumble upon a deck of tarot cards. Now, even though the warning is given that you're not really supposed to give out readings with somebody else's deck, what of course do the friends do? They decide that they're going to go ahead and give out some tarot readings for everybody that's there, and this leads to them all being cursed and fighting to stay alive as they try to find a way to break the curse of these dreaded tarot cards. Okay, so from the jump there, I think that a lot of you who saw the trailer might end up pulling a little bit from like 13 Ghosts. And kind of got to jump on that right away because I see a lot of the chatter going around about that. If you don't remember, 13 Ghosts is about a family that was gifted this mansion from a long lost relative. But they find out within this mansion that there's a number of ghosts that are held captive within, all of these different personalities and looks and backstories. And that's kind of the way that tarot goes as well, too. All these characters, this group of friends, each get a reading done. And for every reading that's done, they have like this final card that's really supposed to dictate like their future, what's going to happen. But it turns out that that final card also corresponds to some kind of spirit, some kind of demon, some kind of monster that's eventually going to come and kill them over the course of this film as well, too. And it's a really interesting concept to have because of the fact that all the monsters, spirits, demons, whatever we're calling them, are also vastly different, and they're all killing this group of characters in very, very different ways. So we do get to have a variety of approaches here in this film, and that is nice when you can actually change it up a bit. You don't have to expect the same kill, the same monster, the same look over and over and over. I do like that a lot. That's one of the better aspects of this film. And I think the problem that I have with it kind of takes away from it just being like this popcorn film is the fact that they don't really establish whether or not is this the entity that's behind the curse, that's basically like turning in to all these various different like monsters, demons, spirits, whatever the hell that they are, or is it that they're all kept within like this tarot deck, and just by the fact that the deck is cursed and the person that cursed this deck, it's evoking all these things to come alive. They don't really like make that entirely clear, unfortunately, and I don't think that takes away from the from the enjoyment of that particular aspect of the movie, but it would have been nice to have a little bit firmer of an answer of it, especially just because the design of so many of these monsters, of these spirits, of these demons is so captivating. Like, it's hard to look away from seeing all the various different designs they have, and they're not shy about showing them either. That is one thing that Tarot definitely does, is that while it does do the whole gimmick of showing us glimpses of each of these monsters throughout the film, we do actually get some full-on views of all of them, which is actually very, very interesting. And I'd be extremely curious to know if Joseph Bishara is playing one of, if not a lot of these monsters. If that name doesn't sound familiar to you, Joseph Bishara is he's a composer, he's a producer, and he's worked on quite a lot of films that we know in the industry. Like, he's done quite a bit of music, but he also happens to play a lot of monsters in these movies as well, too, which I think a lot of you would probably recognize him from Insidious, just because he's like the red-faced demon in that film, and that's like the most notable one. But he's played like a number of other demons and like a bunch of films as well, too. So it wouldn't shock me to find out that he ended up doing like a role in this, because he did the music for this film as well. So just a little interesting tidbit about that. Now, I think where the film really, really falters, though, unfortunately, is that if you're not able to just look at it as like just a popcorn film, it's the start of the summer, you don't need to invest that much into it, then you're not really going to get much out of it, because the characters are unfortunately very, very paper thin. Everything's happening within this one weekend, and outside of knowing that our lead character, Haley, is getting out of a relationship with Grant, and there's some like tension there between the two of them, there's not really much more that we're given for all of these characters. Haley has a bit of a backstory surrounding like the death of her mother and how that got her into like using tarot cards and that kind of world, and that feeds slightly into like the overall narrative of what they're going through. But nobody else is really given much of anything in the film for us to really go on, and so we don't really care as the characters are each taken out one by one. You know, Jacob Batalon shows up, who y'all might know from Reginald the Vampire, or maybe from a little film franchise called Spider-Man, is hilarious. He's definitely bringing the comedic relief to this and does a great job. But unfortunately, I think that the film kind of coasts on his reputation a little bit, if that makes sense. Like, we know who he is, and therefore when he's on screen, it's a much more enjoyable time. And then when he's gone, it's one of those things where it's like the movie's just not as interesting as it really should be, unfortunately. We also have Avantika from the most recent Mean Girls reboot that came out as well, too, who's probably the second most notable name here in this film as well. But it's the same thing with it, is that, you know, they're so spaced out in the movie for where they feature, and they're not given much of a way in terms of a character. Oh, I'm sad this person died, and that's about it. And it's just not enough to really make us root for these characters or want them to stay alive. And again, like, all these characters get killed in really messed up ways as well, too. I did enjoy that even though it's PG-13 horror, and no, we're not looking directly into these shots as they're going on. Again, it is PG PG-13, but they do have a lot of really interesting depths for the various characters throughout the film. And so that itself is really cool to actually see. But again, the flip of it is that we just don't have any kind of investment into these characters at all. And not only that, they're the only ones that exist. It's not that common typically if you're not going to have your movie take place in just one spot. Like, if it's not an isolated film, usually it's not all that common that you're not going to have like a supporting cast of characters like around your main cast here. And that also makes Tarot just a little bit weird, is that we focus on this group of friends. These group of friends are in college, and we don't really see anybody else in the film besides them. There is a there is a expert that they bring in to help them out with everything that's going on to try to get past what's happening, and that goes probably about as well as you think it does. And it's and I'm trying to remember her name. But it's the woman who played Sally Hardesty in the most recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre film on Netflix. And unfortunately, oh well, maybe not unfortunately, but however you want to look at it, I think the issue is that her character doesn't really bring anything to the story. You know, with with our main cast all being kids, basically, and them not really having a handle on the situation and figuring out exactly what's going on, they obviously are looking for an expert to help them get out of what's happening to them. And so they bring in this expert, but unfortunately, she doesn't add anything really to this story at all. And it ends up evoking a little bit of almost like Chris McNeil from the most recent Exorcist movie. Although, again, I liked Chris McNeil's role in the most recent Exorcist film, Exorcist Believer, only because I've said it before, you know, she straight up tells everybody, like, I wasn't in the room for the exorcisms. I'm not an expert on this. I've just researched a lot. You know, I'm not the person to handle any of this. And what happens the moment she steps into that room? She gets her shit rocked. So, spoiler, I guess in a bit here on that. I don't know. This film doesn't do a lot right, unfortunately. I think that there are some really enjoyable jump scares in it. I think, again, the creature design in it is fantastic as well. But those two things are just not enough to keep this movie entertaining, honestly. I think some of you really get a good enjoyment out of it, looking just for something random to put on here during the summer. And I definitely think this is going to kill for the younger crowd, you know, doing sleepovers, school's over, and just trying to stay up late. I think this will do really well on the digital scene for sure. And no, not every single horror movie that comes out has to be like this grand adventure, this amazing piece that we'll talk about for years, but at the same time doesn't have to be, you know, really bad either. So I wouldn't draw from this deck, folks, if I were you. But if you got a chance to see Tarot, let me know in the comment section what you thought of that. And make sure to hit that subscribe button, because I'll be back with more reviews for you very, very soon. But that's going to do it for me tonight, folks. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared. Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So, if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies two subscription and one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to TWASM Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/c/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/c/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.